Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Dead Car Rescue. Today we're going to put the rear end chunk back inside the rear end on the 67 Fairlane. So I bought a 410 gear ratio with a mini spool. Yeah, that's gonna go good with a 6-cylinder. I'm gonna probably feel like I'm in a race car, but it will be fine when I put the V8 in it. So let me show you what I got. We'll get started. There she is, all put together, all ready to go. There's not much to a chunk. Everything's all together like it's supposed to be. You don't have to put it together. It's already together. That's the way I like to buy them. You just take the bolts out, take the axles out, slide it forward, it falls out, stick another one back in, and slide the axles back in it, put the drive shaft back in it, and go down the road and test drive. Let's see how it works out. What could go wrong? Okay, the first thing we're gonna do, take our scrapers and scrape up all the gasket material that's on the rear end housing. Anyway, here we go. We're gonna spray this mounting surface with a brake cleaner. Clean it up, get all the oil off of it, then put some of this on there. Gasket material. Let's do it. First, we gotta let it dry. I just spit out a piece of gasket. How'd that get in my teeth? Now that's all clean and dry and ready for some gasket material. Now what I use is this gasket applier right here. Fairly thick surface of gasket material all the way around this, where this thing is going to mate to the housing. And here's where you wipe your fingers when you get through. Always wipe it on the front side of the of the rear end so nobody will be able to see it from the back. You know, kind of hide the evidence. But it takes most of it off, see? Okay. Now we're gonna just go get the rear end chunk. Try to jack it up with a jack. Get it up here and then manhandle that sucker in there without the thing falling off the jack, because it's just barely sitting on there. If you've ever done this, you know what I'm talking about. It takes two people to do this. I'm ready to get this car out of the shop, so I'm ready to get this done. I probably got grease on my elbows from that grease on the ground, so no biggie. All right, let's see what we can do with this. Okay, here is the chunk. I gotta bring it up to these bolt holes. Find me a nut. Screw on that. I'll get a couple just in case I drop one. Okay, I've already got the other side done. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one now. I've got the axle on the other side, I'll put it that way. It's got a gasket. Just gotta get it on the bolts. And then we'll slide the backing plate up on there and tighten her all down, be done with it. Sometimes you bend your brake line a little bit when you take it off. Sometimes your bolts come out just like this. That's the way they look. That'll be this one right here. They're made like that so you won't have to have a wrench to hold the back side of them. They kind of jam themselves, really. We're gonna bend the brake line just a little bit. Okay. Okay. This flange does have a top and a bottom. And I think it's like that right there. You can see this part right here. It's kind of got a point to it. I think that means point down toward the ground. I'm not sure. Yeah, because it's made like that right here. So that's what we'll do. You can get it upside down, but I don't think the bolts will really match up the holes with the holes and everything. You gotta find your splines, which I just found them. Okay. Now we gotta get the axle into splines. Help if you pick up on that axle, like through that hole, put the hole at the top and jam it in there, pick up on it, because it makes it a little easier for the bearing to go in that tight space that it rides on. You gotta hold your mouth just right to get those bolts started in the hole. Now, they're all started. The gasket's on. All I gotta do is put the nuts and the lock washers on. Get rid of this lug nut, don't need that no more. Wasn't much to see with this video with me changing the rear end and stuff, other than the mess we got into with that rear end being messed up and different than the chunks, you know, and stuff like that. But oh well, ain't nothing money can't fix. I'll just go put it together with a 411, a 410 gear ratio in it, and we'll drive down the highway and feel like we got no third gear. That's what it'll feel like. It'll shift first, second, third, but it'll still feel like it's in second gear all the time, because it'll be wound out. Now, if I had an overdrive transmission, that 410 would be fine. But we'll see. Okay, we'll go to the other side. Tighten up all the bolts. I got them all snug, but I'm going to tighten them all up. Put the drum on it, put the wheels on it, adjust the brakes, and put some grease in the rear end. And that'll be it. And we'll test drive it. Of course, it's going to be dark. Might wait till tomorrow to test drive it, but we'll do that tomorrow. How about that? All right, everybody, we got the rear end in the car. It's a 4:10 gear ratio in a 6-cylinder automatic 67 Fairlane. And it's got a mini spool. So a mini spool means both wheels turn the same time. When you turn a curve, both wheels turn at the same time. A regular car, the inside wheel slows down, the outside wheel speeds up, and it turns easy, and this is not like that. This is like a race car. But it's gonna do until we get one. I'll come across one, and still I can drive it like it is to car shows, stuff like that. I can just drive like 50, 55 mile an hour. And most old cars like that, that's what they do anyway. They just drive slow and show off. So anyway, we're gonna give it a test drive, and don't know what kind of RPMs we're gonna turn, but I can tell by hearing, even though I'm hard to hear it. Let's go. Someday, I hope to have power steering. My fan belt, I don't know what to tell you about it. It's a brand new one. I just replaced one that was squealing with a brand new one. I think it needs a wider belt because this one's sinking down in the alternator groove all the way down to where you can't see it at the top of the groove. But I think I'm gonna have to get a thicker belt, so a wider belt. Sounds awful. Sounds like I'm squealing the tires on it. So much for the test drive. I'm gonna have to go back, take the belt off, go get me a new one. See if I can find one same length, but just thicker. It might be hard to find. So I really can't tell you what it's gonna do on like 60 mile an hour. I got little things wrong with this car that I've got to address pretty soon. One thing is the shocks. I got new shocks on it, just put them on. But the back shocks, I think somebody's changed this rear end, and also the shock mounts, because the back shocks are all the way out. And when you hit a bump, it goes up good, but it don't come down any further. It makes it bump. I gotta get that fixed. If you try to jack it up and the tire's on the ground, the tire comes up as soon as you start jacking. So the shock is fully extended, and I don't know if they make a spacer or something you can put on top of that shock mount where to make that shock go on, not be as extended. I don't know. I thought about trying to make one, but it's not gonna work. I don't want to mess it up. So anyway, that's going to do it for this week. week's video. Next week, we are going to be showing you something different. It's going to be one of those Will It Run episodes. A little something I've got planned for you guys. And I've already picked up. It is actually sitting on my trailer right now. I got to get it off and get it in the shop so you guys can see me work on it. So until next time, the old clock on the wall says it's time for us to get on out of here for another episode of Dead Car Rescue. God bless.